Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams along with my partner in crime, the one, the only Chris King. Chris, crazy night last night. We had a little bit of everything. We had Gonzaga putting the hurt on the Mount. We had, St. Mary's dropping it there, and they got style points. And then there was a basketball game, or was it a boxing match where a basketball game fell in?
Yeah, that's basically what it boiled down to. Like I said, I don't understand why they were fighting at Bryant unless they were trying to fight for better seats, which, I guess you could do that. But I mean, that game was over by the time you got to halftime. What was the point of fighting when you're up by 6 billion points? As for, what else we saw, let's not forget about good old Bellarmine over there in Louisville.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you win the conference tournament and don't get to go to March Madness.
They don't even get. Did they get the? They got. I guess they got to keep the trophy, right?
Yeah, I guess they get to keep the trophy, but I mean,
Yeah.
still, you don't get to play in the tournament. Now you got to, play in the CBI where you have to basically pay to get into that tournament.
Right.
I mean, it's a dumb rule, and you have to think it's something that the NCAA is going to have to look at. If a team's good enough to come up from D2 or D3 or D whatever,
Right. Whatever.
and win a conference title, this is no different than when teams used to transfer conferences. Remember when U.S. International transferred to the now no longer existing Transatlantic Athletic Conference, and they won a title, or they won the conference.
Who could forget
tournament,
it?
And they couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one, buddy. It is.
What are we going to do next? If you have a team mascot that people don't like, you can't get into the tournament. If you win the conference tournament, you have to play in the NIT.
Yeah, that's it.
You know who's happy? Jacksonville State.
Unfortunately for Jacksonville, who actually played in the championship game last night. Yeah, the one with the Jacksonville with the State on it got to go, but the Jacksonville who actually played in the title game last night stays home. So
yeah, I'm not happy about that either. I think if you're going to have this stupid rule, which it is, then what you need to do is
then own it.
If the team that gets in or the team that wins can't go, then the team that loses in the conference title game should go. I don't care about this. You won the regular season crown, so what? Obviously, how often do we see that not pan out in all kinds of conferences? I mean, you can win the regular season title at any conference and lose in the tournament. In a lot of the major conferences, you still have the right to go to the March Madness because your record. But these smaller conferences, they get shafted. And Jacksonville, the Dolphins, Artis Gilmore is going to be raising a ruckus about this because he'd rather see his team, his alma mater, playing in the tournament.
Right. Absolutely. And Joe, not any relation to me, Williams, who used to wear that candy stripe outfit that he, the ice cream guy with the all white suits and the very stylish 1970s garb. When Jacksonville was a power. It's interesting. It's funny. When I was working in Tampa, we did a tournament every year in St. Petersburg, the Bayfront Center, where the quote unquote top 4 teams in the state would play. So it would be Florida State with Hugh Durham coaching there. You had Joe Williams coaching the folks at Jacksonville. Then you had, get this, you had FSU, you had Jacksonville, you had USF, my alma mater, from a basketball standpoint.
When they were relevant.
When they were relevant as a basketball team. And you had Florida, and that was your Big 4 tournament. And, that was back in the day. Now, you couldn't get those 4 to play each other in the tournament if you tried. But
also good to see Jim. That's some of our partners in crime here. Tim from Earl Sports Bets is here. Craig,
hey Tim,
from the head man over there at Picks and Parlays has stopped by to say hi.
Hi guys.
And Michael, I agree with you. Furman definitely can't be happy. I live in the shadow of Furman, in between Furman and Clemson, down here, and losing on a 40-foot three when you got when you're being defended by 3 guys at the buzzer is not a way to lose the SoCon tournament. I feel bad for Bob Ritchie and the Paladins. They still haven't been to the tournament since 1980. They probably still won't get in that large bid because they lost to Chattanooga 3 times. But, that's the way things go in March, as we all unfortunately know.
Well, there was a situation, by the way, Michael. Good shout out. He's shouting out for representing his Cubs. I'll give you an update on the NBA and on the Major League Baseball situation in a few minutes. But there was a situation. What was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago with COVID? I kind of like lose years. The I think maybe we'll say 2018. There was a team that made the tournament with a losing record, winning the conference tournament, and they were in the tournament with 11 and like 16 record. So, don't try to never when it comes to the NCAA, never try to apply yet logic. It does not happen. Okay.
Well, yeah. Speaking of that, the teams with the worst record to ever make the tournament, it happened 3 years in a row. You had 3 teams that went 11 and 18.
Okay.
1995 was Florida International. 1996 was UCF. And 97 was the Fairfield Stags out of the MAC.
So 2 Florida schools went to the
and they
tournament.
were playing in the Atlantic Sun at the time.
Oh, man. Isn't that wild? All right, by the way, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can't tell me that, we're going to let a team that's 11 and 18 in because they won a conference tournament, but we're going to not let in a team that just because they came up from Division 2.
Hey, Craig, good to see you, buddy.
But yeah, you look at some of these teams that have gotten in over the years. It's just ridiculous. I feel bad for Bellarmine. I feel bad for Furman. I feel bad for Northern Kentucky. They lost at the buzzer to Wright State yesterday, 72-71 in the Horizon League final, which is too bad because, they were on a roll down the stretch.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to welcome all of our friends. Now, guys, you know us from Winners and Whiners, but we're now part of, as you can see scrolling across the bottom, the Max Wagers team, the Max Wagers Network. We want you to smash that like button. We want you to hit the subscribe button, and we want you to hit that bell so that every time that you come to our network, you know that from noon all the way to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because that's how long they roll. For 6 hours, you get an opportunity to listen to, the Midday Money Show with Sean Higgs. Great guy. Then we got...
He's been on a roll of late, too.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Then we got our buddy, Allie Burns at Morning Wood from 1 to 2. She leads into our show, which, of course, is just parlays with Mr. King over there. Then what you got coming up Scott and Scott at the 3 o'clock hour. And, then what we got is Back to the Window with Scott and Scott 3.
Yep.
And then
Game Time Decisions with Nick, Tim, the Earl brothers, and the good old Detroit Lenny.
That's right. It's funny. The Earl brothers and Detroit Lenny sounds like a wrestling team. From
the ring weather manager, Detroit Lenny.
Detroit Lenny and and the Earl brothers.
Yeah, from Parts Unknown, which Bobby Heenan would tell you is downtown Newark.
Right. They remain to be parts unknown for a reason. There you go. All right, let's jump in. By the way, real quick, while we're taking care of business, plenty of great deals going on with Caesars. We're going to tell you a little bit about an NBA promotion we got coming later, but all the information on those outstanding options coming to us from BetMGM, check it out in our show box below. So that's BetMGM. Check it out in our show box below. And now, without any further ado, we move onward and upward to college basketball, where the Colgate Raiders take on our buddies, the midshipmen from Navy. You spoke to, you were talking to me earlier. You said that you spoke to the voice of the Navy midshipman.
Right. I talked to Pete about
Mr. Medhurst.
Yep. About the Boston U game the other day, and then Colgate.
Mm-hmm.
He said the same thing that he said about Colgate when he was on with us a couple weeks ago. In order to beat Colgate, you've got to make some shots because the Raiders will run and gun with the best of them on the offensive end of the floor. And I'll tell you what, Colgate is a dangerous team when it comes to the outside. If you look at the numbers there, Colgate won both meetings this year. They won 69-50 at Navy and then won 74-69 at home in a game that meant absolutely nothing to either team because they'd already locked down the top two seeds in the conference tournament. Navy, Ed DeChellis' team, just 317th in scoring offense at 65.2 points a game. They're 230th in field goal percentage at 43.2. They shoot 48% inside the arc. They don't shoot a lot from the perimeter. 319th with 5.7 triples a night. They're 238th in three-point percentage. And what's going to hurt Navy here is their inability to knock down free throws. Just 340th in the country at 65.6%. Meanwhile, you're facing a Colgate team that, like we said, can fill it up. 57th in the nation in scoring offense, averaging better than 76 points a game. They shoot 47.5% from the floor, 52.8% from inside the arc.
Whoa.
And look at those numbers from three-point range, Jim. 13th in the country by knocking down 10 triples a night, and they shoot better than 40% from beyond the arc. The only team that shoots better than Colgate from three-point range, we talked about them the other day, we talked about them yesterday, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, who punched their ticket to March Madness by beating North Dakota yesterday in the Summit League final. South Dakota State went into that game shooting better than 45% from three on the year. So, I mean, Colgate's a second, but they're a distant second. But still, if you're shooting better than 40% from out there, you're going to make life tough for a lot of teams, and that's going to be a challenge for Navy, especially with their short bench in this one. Colgate 5-2 in their last 7 after an ATS win. They blew out. It wasn't Pennsylvania A&I Tech Community College like we talk about, but they dusted Lehigh and they dusted Bucknell. They beat Bucknell by 28. They beat Lehigh by 20. This game, of course, they're playing up there and good old it's going to be a good old game there.
You're talking about they're playing at Colgate up in New York, upstate New York, right?
Yeah, actually, I can't remember if the Patriot plays on a neutral floor or not. I'm double checking because.
Well, one of the things that you got to be concerned about, and by the way, Pete, if you're listening, we love you, buddy, but we'll probably see you back. Drive safely on the way home because this one's not going to last tonight. Navy's problem with Colgate is that Navy can't play tempo and Colgate can.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a problem.
And yeah, this one's at Cotterell Court in Hamilton. So, I mean.
So, there you go.
It's a difficult place to play. It's not a big building. It only seats about 1,800 people. But, those 1,800 people will sound like about 10,000 if the Raiders build a lead in this game. My
guess is, and it's just a guess having been up there, that there will not be a fire marshal in the area. And they will stuff another... They've been known, if you watch games there, or if you've ever been there, first of all, it's hot, and which is difficult to do this time of the year in that part of upstate New York.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Yeah, you would know. You're from Buffalo. Okay. The other thing is they actually have standing areas where they can fit that extra 200 people and push it to 2,000 in areas where if you come off the court, you're going to fall into people who are standing there watching the game. So they make it, you definitely have a home court advantage. I know we talk about that all the time, but when the building is only 1,800 and we shoehorn another 200 in there, thank goodness that the Navy midshipmen are disciplined in the way that they handle things, because it could be very, very difficult for them tonight against the Raiders. And again, Pete, we love you, buddy. We love the Navy, but not tonight, brother. Not tonight. Drive home safely.
I think even Pete would tell you that it's going to be a tough matchup, and Navy's going to have to play pretty much a perfect game on both ends of the floor.
Well, I think he did tell us that, didn't he? I mean,
well, that's what I said a couple of weeks ago. But now you're back up there again. Mm-hmm. I know that familiarity breeds contempt, as the saying goes. But it's still going to be an uphill climb for Navy, and I like Colgate. Like I said, they've been on a roll. They've done us a lot of favors.
Yeah, they've won us a lot of money.
Yeah, if you look, I mean, Colgate was at one point. You have to remember, Colgate was 4-10.
Right.
And
now
you look and you turn around and Colgate has won.
They ain't 4-10 anymore.
Yeah, they've won. 14 straight, 18-19, and all of a sudden you went from 4-10 to 22-11. They were 16-2 in the regular season in the Patriot League. They've won their first 2 games in the tournament, and I think they'll win tonight to get back to March Madness, where they'll be a thorn in somebody's side if they can hit from the outside like they have all year.
Well, we also talk about the importance of guard play in conference tournaments. You talked about it from a standpoint of the free throw shooting. Again, a huge thing. I think where absolutely Colgate's going to be a challenge for anybody. But I think let's see, how the draw comes out, because we'll see if they end up facing a team that can be a little more physical than they are.
True.
And that might be a situation. But look, now that we've basically moved them through without them actually playing against Navy tonight, we're going to say we think Colgate's going to win. But if they don't, then guess what? We'll be talking to Pete Medhurst from the NCAA tournament somewhere.
I mean, just looking at Colgate, Colgate has 5 guys that have hit at least 42 threes this year. And the guy who's only hit 42 actually leads the nation. He's 42 of 80 for a 52.5% rate shooting outside.
100%.
I mean, those are ridiculous numbers.
You couldn't. Those are playground numbers.
Yeah, you don't shoot that well shooting at air most of the time.
No, I mean, you could stand there with nobody in front of you and you shoot. That's tough. That's a tough one to get, I'll tell you. Colgate wins. Let's move on. All right, now here's another team that's won us a lot of money. Love you, Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont has done us a lot of favors this season, other than that game against Hartford.
Right. Well, everybody has a bad day sometimes.
Yeah. Well, now they get Binghamton, and let me tell you, Binghamton is a team that Vermont has owned over the
Fighting
course of the years.
Kornheisers. Yes, the Fighting Tony Kornheisers.
Yes, there's been a petition for them to change their mascot from the Bearcats to the Fighting Tony Kornheisers, but apparently there's speculation that they don't want to see a bald white guy with a beard as their mascot.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. My good friend, my self-loathing Tony Kornheiser. Yeah. So the Binghamton Kornheisers, we'll just call them the Kornheisers, taking on Vermont. And this one, how much maple syrup they got left, Chris? I mean, they've been giving it out to everybody.
Well, they probably tapped a few more trees for this one. I mean,
True.
This line's gone up. Vermont was favored by 20. It's 21.5 now. The money line is ridiculous, as you can see. Some places it's even worse than that. I just put it up there for people to look at and go, wow, what the hell is that? But let's face it, Vermont is 85th in the nation in scoring offense. They shoot 49% from the floor. They shoot almost 59% from 2-point range. They knock down 8.8 threes a game. They shoot 36.2% from beyond the arc, and they shoot better than 75% at the line. So there are no real major holes in Vermont offensively. Meanwhile, Binghamton, Lavelle Sanders' team is 246th in scoring offense at 68.6. They're an average team shooting the ball. They're below average at 2-point range. Yep, Sly's right. Colgate's been a good moneymaker this year. I'm not going to take that away from them, and I'm looking for that to continue here. Tim, sure. I guess if you want to lay 5,000 to win $100, why not?
You know what, Tim?
I've seen people do it.
Yeah, I've done it myself. It's not to that point. Maybe a couple of grand, but yeah, no. Look, you come away with $5,100. So what's the big deal, right?
But yeah, I think that Vermont's going to win this one big. I mean, you just watch them destroy everybody's favorite, school, the New Jersey, not Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They beat them by 39 on Sunday in their first round matchup. They've beaten Binghamton 39 out of 47 times that they've met, including 15 in a row.
There you go. By the way, Tim, we do know you were joking, buddy.
but like I said, I've seen stranger things from some of these
people
tickets that people put up on Twitter. Betting, betting a ton of money on a money line like that for no reason other than they can say, "Hey, look, I bet a winner."
Fade Navy. Those guys are frauds. Jack, buddy. Okay, good to hear. By the way, don't go to Annapolis and call them frauds. That could be dangerous. But good to see you, Jack. Welcome. Super Sly's talking about North Dakota State for a minute. South Dakota, I'm sorry.
Good old Kyle Korver. I remember him when he played in Utah. And he's bounced around the league, but he's always been a good sharpshooting guard.
We'll sneak a quick one in from Thomas. Nebraska 5 over Northwestern, and that's I don't know about that. We'll talk about that in a minute there. Sly, hang on to it. All right, where are we on the board here, my man?
Well, I mean, we were just finishing up here. Like I said,
Yeah.
Vermont, 13 of their last 15 wins over Binghamton have come by at least 14 points. Binghamton hasn't won in this series going back to, I think it's 2015. Vermont's 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 as a home favorite. They're 21-6-1 against the spread in their last 28 on Wednesday. And Binghamton 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 after a straight-up win. Doesn't look profitable for the Bearcats tonight as their season comes to an end in a familiar place where they like getting beat, and that is up in
it's a very
Vermont.
very masochistic group of people in that one.
Just for reference,
Yeah,
in the first meeting this season, which came in Vermont on February 9th,
right.
final score was Vermont 82, Binghamton 51.
I remember we talked about that game, and I remember we both said it's maple syrup. Take it and leave, and go have your pancakes, and they did, and they did. So there you go. But we have Super Sly was talking about South Dakota State. Let me pop that up there real quick for you. Kyle Corver, we got that one. We got the one on.
Thomas is asking about Nebraska and Northwestern. Now, Nebraska, we liked beating up on them earlier this season. Yeah, we did. But all of a sudden, they got hot at the end of the year. They won 3 straight games. They beat Penn State by 23. They beat Ohio State by 8, and they beat Wisconsin by 1. All those games coming on the road. Of course, Wisconsin, that game was marred by the injury to Johnny Davis for the Badgers. Probably changed the collection of that game. Northwestern isn't really a great basketball team by any stretch of the imagination. The Wildcats 14-15. Chris Collins' team stumbled down the stretch. They lost 5 of their final 7, and that was only salvaged because they beat Minnesota in the regular season finale to get to 14-15. Sure, I mean, Northwestern won both meetings with Nebraska, but this seems to be a different Nebraska team all of a sudden, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row.
I mean, I guess getting,
that, by the way, for those of you listening, that's actually a cliche. So I used to find announcers, if they use cliches, I got to find myself for that one. Okay. Cliche.
Okay, by the way, you can send me the $100.
You got it. Medic BBG. Hola. Well, bien gracias y tú. All right. Welcome. We love to have people around. Chris, in that Catamount game was it 21.5 points?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good thing that Allie Burns and Morningwood and that team, who is our lead-in, we're happy to have Allie. It's a good thing Allie didn't see that. She would have chased you all around South Carolina to.
She flipped out about the Heat Rockets line the other day, and Houston still covered at 14.5.
I understand, but there you go. Hey, Mike has a question for us. Michael, what do you got? Arizona State -4. Stanford. ASU's been hot lately. Take it to the bank, Michael. You're right. They have been. ASU has. I'll tell you what. I don't think there's anybody in that Pac-12 tournament that wants to see Arizona State.
I can't figure out why Arizona State all of a sudden figured out that they can play basketball, because I mean, for so long they were just getting beaten like a drum, and all of a sudden they've won 7 out of 8 and 4 in a row. They got to 10-10 in the Pac-12. They beat UCLA.
I think they beat SC as well.
No, they lost both of those.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, but they beat UCLA. They beat Washington State. They beat Oregon. They beat Colorado. I mean, sure, none of those teams are really going to move the needle much. Neither is Utah. They beat them twice. I feel bad for Craig Smith leaving Utah State to go to Utah and then find out that Utah's a horrible basketball team.
Oops.
But I think you're right. I think that Arizona State, they're playing their best basketball right now. Could they pull another thing like we saw last year with Wayne Tinkle and Oregon State? It's possible. I'm from a personal perspective, I'm hoping not, just because of the fact that then we're going to have another team that's 18-16 if they win out to get through the tournament in the field, and it'll steal a bid from somebody else that probably deserves one.
Jacksonville.
Well, we know Jacksonville's not going to get one, but
No, it's
I
true.
mean, you look at teams like Dayton or
Mhm.
VCU or somebody like that
Right.
could end up getting squeezed because of that. Because God knows if you're going to squeeze a bid, you're not going to take it from a Power Five conference. You're not going to squeeze out Miami or Wake Forest
Mhm.
or a team like that. You'll squeeze out some mid major that they think that isn't going to draw
Mhm.
any ratings on TV.
Right.
But yeah, I think that they're going to take care of Stanford today. I mean, they just beat Stanford in Tempe on Saturday.
Right.
So I look for the Sun Devils to keep rolling there.
Head out to Palo Alto.
The
Medic.
Lions dropping. Well,
Yeah,
Lions are fickle, I swear.
Yeah. If you like Arizona State, Medic, by all means hang with them. Don't let the line, cause you grief. The thing is, I haven't seen any reports that anybody's not going to play.
Well, not anybody that's new. I mean,
No, I'm
it's
just
still the
saying.
same guys for Arizona State that have been out since December.
Right.
And
But I'm
there's
saying that nobody got injured somewhere along the line, getting on the bus and heading out there. I have no idea. She
right.
said, okay. So there you go.
Yeah, I see now the line's moved up to 4.5 now from 4.
Yeah. So
So it's actually moving more towards Arizona State,
yeah,
which is
giving them
probably a good
more
thing
points.
if
Yeah.
you catch it early.
Michael has a question about Butler.
Oh God, good old Butler, Lavelle Jordan, Butler and Xavier. Is there a team that is more, you know, spastic than Xavier? They were hot for a good chunk of the season. They went ice cold down the stretch. Everybody talks about that triple overtime loss to Providence because
Right.
they had the game in hand, and then they had the delay because of the leaky roof situation at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Providence came back and won that game.
Right.
I look at it if I'm a Providence fan, I look at it the same way I looked at Game 7 of the 2016 World Series, where you had that sudden rain delay that lasted 18 minutes in the top of the 10th inning, and then the Cubs, of course, won 8-7 to win their first title since 1908. But Xavier, Travis Steele's team, they were 16-5 after they beat Butler on Groundhog's Day,
Right.
and then they promptly lost 7 out of 9, and that's only because they beat Georgetown on Saturday.
It's hard for me to say that. It's hard for me to say that Georgetown is everybody's homecoming team now, which is bad. But it is what it is, and tough times at Georgetown. But I when you got a team that's as hot as Arizona, Arizona State? You can't not stay with them,
right? Plus, if you going back to that real quick, Stanford averaged only 54.6 points a game in their last 5, and they were dead last in the Pac-12 in scoring. They're also dead last in free throw shooting. Not a good combination when you're getting into conference tournament play. Back to Xavier and Butler. God, it's just Xavier won both meetings. They won by 15 at Butler in January. They won by 2 at home in February. Butler went down the tank again. They lost their last 5. If I had to pick with a gun to my head, I would take Xavier just because of the fact that I think they have a little more in the tank. They're a little better, and they've got a little more experience. I mean, they've got Scruggs. Seems like he's been there forever. He's the Brad Davison of the Big East. Nate Johnson's a senior. Fremantle's a junior. Jack Nunge is a junior that obviously spent time at Iowa before he came over. I'd lean towards Xavier, but it's not a game I'd be overly thrilled with just because both teams have played so badly for long stretches of this season.
Right.
It's just ugly to watch. I'm not even going to tune in to watch that game. That's how bad it is. It's like a few.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's like a few years ago when Thursday Night Football was big, and I remember my brother saying that it was the 2-12 Jaguars playing the 3-11 Titans, and he said that this game is so bad I wouldn't waste free Wi-Fi to watch it.
There you go. Cliche number 2. The best bet sometimes is a bet you don't make, and this might be
$100 for me.
This might be I mean, actually, if you look in the dictionary under bet, bets not to take, this would be under that, in the definition. It just, you got, like Chris says, I mean, you got two totally wacky teams playing. Hello. There you go. All right. Onward and up. We're going to go to the NHL. And bingo.
I know it's a real exciting slate. I'm sure that, Tim, you guys are excited about it with the whole 2 games tonight, including the Edmonton Oilers and the Washington Capitals.
Painful.
Yeah, the Caps, from what Jim says, allegedly won last night. I'm thinking he might have been, deluded.
They asked for a recount. It's Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, but so the Caps actually 31-18-9. I forgot to update it because it was late last night and I didn't look.
You just don't want to give them the props. That's all right.
Well, they're in a wild card spot. They can stay
There's
there.
that. There's that. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be Ilya Samsonov, 17-9-3 with a 293 goals against, a 901 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. And it's supposed to be, at least last I checked. Let me see if they switch goaltenders again, because with the Oilers, you never know. Originally, they were saying it was going to be Mikko Koskinen. Let's see if they switched just to aggravate me. Nope, they're going to actually start Koskinen. There you go. He's 19-9-3 with a 305 save percentage, or 305 goals against, a 904 save percentage, and 1 shutout. There was talk they might go back to Mike Smith, but I figured it's probably only a matter of time before Mike Smith gets hurt again and ends up on the shelf. Caps 10th in goals for, 7th in goals against. Oilers are 12th in goals for, 3.19, 21st in goals against, 3.21. Caps playing the second game of a back-to-back here. They don't like doing that. They don't like playing against Pacific Division teams. They're 1-5 against the Pacific. They're 1-4 in the second game of back-to-backs. Of course, on the flip side of this, and just because we like to be full disclosure whether it's a good day or a bad day, we talked yesterday about how the Avalanche were 11-1 in the second game of back-to-backs, and they started strong yesterday, leading 3-0, and then promptly never scored again and lost 5-3 to the Devils. So there's that too. But still, you look, and the Oilers 5-2 in their last 7 as a favorite. They're 21-9 in their last 30 against the Metropolitan Division, and the home team has won 4 out of the last 5 in this series. I'm going to like the Oilers a little bit more than I'm going to like the Caps in this one. Like I said, Washington having to play that game against Calgary yesterday. I'm going to stick with Edmonton. McDavid and Draisaitl, 2's better than 1, and I think they can outscore Ovechkin.
Well, he got 2 goals last night, which tied him with Mario Lemieux for 3rd on the goal list. So there's that. No, look, as much as I enjoy the Capitals, it's hard to go out to, and again, people forget that, Edmonton in that whole situation out there, it's no different than going to Denver or any of those other places. You've got thin air. And so, the Caps in the 3rd period are probably going to be sucking wind at that point. They'll be on oxygen. But no, Edmonton, you have to go with Edmonton in the game tonight.
And it'll be a good matchup because, Draisaitl and McDavid tied for the league lead in points with 79.
Mm-hmm.
Draisaitl tied for 2nd in the league with 38 goals. Ovechkin is 4th with 36.
Right.
Of course, now they're all looking up at Austin Matthews, who had a hat trick last night for the Leafs in their 6-4 win over Seattle. He's got 43.
Yeah. Well, and, Samsonov has played well lately, and Koskinen is good. So you got 2 good goalkeepers. You got some pretty good snipers. This is a game to watch if you get a chance to.
It's definitely better to watch than the other game that's on the slate in the NHL.
And there it is.
Everybody's favorite teams. That's right. The Montreal Canadiens and the Vancouver Canucks. If you're looking for a goal fest, you came to the right place, which is strange because when you look and see Montreal's dead last in goals per game and dead last in goals against, meanwhile, Vancouver's 23rd in goals per game and 12th in goals against. It's supposed to be everybody's favorite guy that nobody likes, Samuel Montembeault, 6-11-4 with a 366 goals against and 897 save percentage and net for the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. Against Thatcher Demko, who, of course, Demko'd the Leafs again the other night in that win Saturday, where he seemingly stopped 412 shots in the 3rd period of that game. He's 25-16. Yeah, He's 25, 16, and 2 with a 263 goals against, a 917 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Hopefully, Bruce Boudreau got the memo this time and won't play Yaroslav Halak again, because if they miss the playoffs, they'll have nobody to blame
but
but themselves
themselves.
for playing Halak, who is a waste of space, and still got a $1.25 million bonus for making his 10th start, despite the fact that he barely made it out of the first period in his last outing.
Michael, thank you. We like you too.
And Tim, obviously, very excited about the Canadians.
Yay.
But Tim, which are you more excited about, the Canadians or the fact that the Sabres will host Vegas in the return of Jack Eichel tomorrow night? That's what I want to know. Meanwhile, you look at the.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Jim. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Le Habitants playing tonight. You know, Bruce is in Bruce we trust. And you're right. This is going to be easy over 6. I mean, what? By the way, Tim Earle's with us. Tim and Chris. He wants the Sabres on the money line. Oh, there you go, Tim. What the heck has happened in the NHL over the past month where we're getting scores that look like baseball scores? They're like 6-5, 7-2, 9-1. I mean, this is crazy. This is not normally what you see with regard to the NHL.
I think some of it has to do with the fact that, with all those breaks that we had, that led to a big run of goal scoring, because goaltenders get rusty. It gives the advantage to the skaters.
True.
But some of it's just bad goaltending, and I'm not going to pull any punches. Like we said, Halak has been awful. Toronto's been winning, but they've had awful goaltending too. Last night, the Red Wings, I think, forgot to put a goaltender in because they gave up 9 to the Coyotes. Yeah, the Coyotes scored 9 goals.
Not to be confused with Wiley.
I think Lenny burned his Red Wings jersey probably midway through the first period in that game. The Blackhawks hung 7 on the Ducks. I mean, there was a ton of ridiculous offensive performances yesterday, and you can't chalk it all up to Tim said we're getting higher scores because teams are scoring more goals.
I didn't think about that. That just makes all the sense in the world, Tim.
But he also brings up a valid point. There's a lot of games in a short time frame where all these teams, you see teams playing a lot of back-to-backs or 3 games in 4 nights or 4 games in 6 nights, and eventually it wears them down. And like I said, but some of it's just bad goaltending. I mean, look at some of the numbers that you see around the league with some of these guys, and it's just ridiculous how poorly they've played. The Campbell's given up, I think, 4 or more goals in 9 of his last 15 starts or something like that. And it even affects, some of the good goaltenders. Look at Shesterkin. He got lit up yesterday as well. Darcy Kemper gave up 5 to the Devils.
Yeah.
We saw that wild game with the Islanders and the Avs the other night where it was 1-1 after 2 periods and ended up 5-4. So, I mean,
it's crazy.
It's weird. I mean, are we going back to the halcyon days where every game was 6-5? No. Is anybody going to threaten Gretzky's records? No. Is it better than the days of watching the left wing lock of Jacques Lemaire and everything in New Jersey in the 90s? Probably. Those games got boring.
You literally. I was about to mouth New Jersey and how it was like basically watching teams skate in vanilla pudding because everything was slowed down. It was like the slowest hockey I ever saw in my life. It was boring as hell.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they won. They won that way.
Well, yeah, I can go right back to Bobby the Brain Heenan about that when you talk about how they cheated, and he's like, but it worked,
right? And it did, despite the fact that it was boring as hell.
And Mike asks, do you think this will become a feature now where we won't send NHL players to the Olympics ever again, or do you think it was a one-time thing, mainly because of the fact that we lost so many dates to the COVID situation?
That's a good question. I'm going to go with it. This is going to sound weird, but follow me. With regard to the United States hockey players, okay, U.S. hockey players, they are not overly crazy about going to the Olympics, okay? And the reason it started in the first place, real quick, Gary Bettman took a page out of David Stern's playbook, which was, go play international competition. It will grow the brand, worldwide. But if you look at the players from Canada, the players from Europe, they all love to play for their national teams. In most cases, they grew up either playing for the team or rooting for that team. So they take that. Even though they're professionals, they take it very seriously. And so my guess is that we're going to have to wait and see, because they didn't re-sign the contract. They're on a year-to-year contract, Olympic year, so 4-year contracts, and they didn't re-up it this year. They didn't up it this year because of China, but whether or not we see them in future, I think it's probably a 50-50 chance at this point. There's been a lot of talk that they are going to do their own international thing, like baseball did their whole international thing. So my guess would be, and taking a lot more time to answer this question you probably wanted, the fact of the matter is I do think that they will play. If I'm leaning, I'd go 60-40 to them playing versus them not. So they're going to have to look over it. But again, it's going to be up to the league. It's not up to the players. Because if there was up to the players, there probably would have been a bunch of guys who would have gone and played. So
now, I was going to ask Tim if he's still here. Tim and Mike and anybody else, would you guys want to see them play in the Olympics, or would you rather see the World Cup of Hockey thing like we saw in the 90s, where all those guys got to represent their teams, and they did it basically towards in the area of this year where it'd be closer to the preseason, so that way you don't have to worry about guys getting hurt, overseas or getting stuck somewhere. I mean, the World Cup was good for hockey. Michael asked if the Olympics is part of the CBA. Do you know about that,
It is
Jim?
not. It's not.
So it's basically a Bettman decision.
It's an owner's decision.
Right.
It's not a Bettman decision. He works for the owners. It's an owner's decision. Now, I'll tell you, the owners were not necessarily on board originally with the concept that they play in the Olympics because they were afraid. I mean, go play international, right? And somebody gets hurt, and you're coming back, and you're getting ready to start the second half of the season, and somebody got banged up playing in the Olympics. So that part of it is, I guess, the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you've got an overwhelming amount of your players wanting to play in the Olympics, then there's a pretty good chance that they'll do it, despite the owners not necessarily wanting them to. But you might think that would be in the CBA, but it's not. It probably should be. That's for sure. All right,
maybe it's something they'll put in there going forward. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll send a note. Send a note out to Gary and see. He doesn't live far from Evan, so we'll have him drop it off. So just knock on the door. Hey, give it to him. Actually, he lives down the street from Don Fear, so he could just go over. Don's in charge of the hockey's collective bargaining agreement. Just ask Don to do it. All right, you know what? Let's go to the NBA, where there's going to be some fun games tonight, and let's see where we go. The Celtics and the Hornets.
Yeah, we're going to go to Buzz City. I feel bad for everybody that didn't take the Nets yesterday when we talked about this game when they played the Hornets. How about Kyrie Irving? He gets to play basketball. He scores 50 points, shoots better than 75% from the floor. And I know a lot of people were mad that Kevin Durant only scored 14 because they all picked him to score over 29.5. But,
yeah, there you go.
Too bad, because that's just the way it works. Yep. But still, now Charlotte has to play the second game of a back-to-back. Boston is 39-26. They're a 500 team on the road. Charlotte 32-34. The Hornets are bad in the second game of back-to-backs this season. They are 1-11. They've been outscored by 5.2 points a game in those situations. And look at that, Jim. They're giving up 124 points a game in the second game of back-to-backs. That's not going to get it done.
Ouch.
I know we talked about how the Hornets like to rack up points, and we talked about this when they played Cleveland last week.
Mm-hmm.
The Hornets are second in the league in scoring offense at 114.4 points a game, but they're 28th in scoring defense, and they give 114.8. That's like trying to put your finger in a hole in the dam and another one springs out. That's basically the Hornets' method of playing basketball. Meanwhile, you've got to face a Boston team that's third in the league in scoring defense at 104.1. They lead the league in field goal percentage defense at 43.2%, and they are second in three-point defense, 33.8. Boston 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 on the road against teams with a winning home record. Charlotte 2-9-1 against the spread in their last 12 at home. Boston has covered in 9 of the last 13 meetings in Charlotte. I'm just going to take a quick look at the old injury report, see if we got anything exciting on here. Last I knew, Gordon Hayward still out for the Hornets as he deals with that ankle injury. It's been a rough road for Hayward since he left Utah. He went to Boston, got hurt, went to Charlotte, got hurt. Probably should have just stayed in Utah.
You think? Yeah.
But yeah, Hayward won't play again tonight. Jalen McDaniels is questionable. He hasn't played since late January. For Boston, Aaron Nesmith is out with an ankle sprain, and that's it. So Boston's healthy. They'll have Tatum. They'll have Brown. They'll have Al Horford. They'll have Marcus Smart. They'll have Derek White. Charlotte still can't play defense, and that's going to be their undoing again tonight as the Celtics keep rolling up the ladder in that Eastern Conference playoff picture.
Yeah. And it's funny when we're talking about teams being hot as they head into the college tournament. Now is the time if you're in the NBA, you want to get hot because it's going to get you, into the playoffs. If you can hang on, and the Celtics record is good enough to keep them in the hunt for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you just taking a look here at the standings, if you look at it right now, in the East, the Celtics have moved up to 5th. They've now opened up a 4-game lead over Toronto to stay on the right side of the guaranteed playoff cut line because, the top 6 teams in each conference get in there. Guaranteed. They don't have to play in a playing game. Charlotte has dropped all the way to 9th, and they're tied with the Hawks. They're ahead by a percentage point. So they could be in 10th by the time the day is over. And Washington, for all their issues of late, just lingering 1.5 games out of the playoff picture at this point of the season. So Charlotte doesn't have much room to work with here.
Well, and as we said the other day, Eric Spoelstra's team is starting to get healthy again, and that certainly can't hurt. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's the difference in this game here. When you look at it, is sure the Suns have the best record in the league. Can't fault them for that. They're 52-13. That's an 800 winning percentage.
Right.
They're 24-6 on the road. That's an 800 winning percentage. Problem is they barely beat Orlando yesterday because they're minus their entire starting backcourt of Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Cameron Johnson also out. He had that bank shot game winner against the Knicks Friday night, but then didn't play Sunday, didn't play yesterday. I don't even think he made the trip for this road swing for them. So he is not expected to play either. And that's tough because you got a Miami team that, like you said, they're getting healthy. I mean, Jimmy Butler is questionable tonight with a sinus infection. Other than that, though, everybody's healthy. Bam Adebayo's healthy. We saw Oladipo come back the other day. He scored 11 points.
Right.
Tyler Hero is healthy. Duncan Robinson. All those guys that people, you couldn't pick them out of a lineup, but, they can play basketball. And that's the difference here. Miami's 4th in scoring defense at 104.6. They're 4th in field goal percentage. They're 9th in three-point defense. The Suns, they play well in the second game of back-to-backs record-wise. They're 7-3. But if you look, they get outscored in those games by 2.7 points a game. So they're due for a regression of sorts here. And the Heat 5-0 in their last 5 overall. They're 7-0 against the spread in their last 7 on Wednesday. They're 10-1 against the spread in their last 11 against teams with a winning percentage above 600. Suns 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 overall. Look, you could barely beat Orlando and didn't cover the line yesterday on the road. Now you're playing the second game of a back-to-back against the team that leads the Eastern Conference and who's healthy on the road. I'm taking Miami.
To your point, Chris, one of the things that people sometimes don't look at, and that is when a team comes into your building and they're the number one team in the league, they got the best record. You get a little psyched. You want to
True.
see. This is. You may play Orlando last night and go, oh, that's a yawn fest. All we need to do is just win. Who cares by what? But in the case of when you're playing a Phoenix or you're playing a Golden State or you're playing, any of the elite teams in the league, there's always that thing of like, okay, we got something to prove. They're not going to be, they're not coming in our house and win. Now, if you're Miami, you've got the ability to back that up. And so, yeah, I mean, you're getting good points. That's the deal. I'd take it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking too at the fact that this is a potential finals matchup when you get right down to it. Those teams
sure.
lead their respective conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael said, "Let's figure out MLB before we deal with Gary Bettman."
All right, Michael. I can tell you this: prior to coming on, as I was putting together a column, I did speak to some representatives. They worked. They've gone 17 hours now of negotiations. I would expect in the next 48 hours that we're going to find out what's going on because of two things. One, with regard to the money aspect of it, if they have to cancel games, which supposedly yesterday was the deadline, but
I was going to say, so did they just extend it?
That was the third deadline, by the way. A fourth deadline will be coming soon. They could still theoretically get in 162 games, which is what they want to do. The players want to do. The owners can go, the number is 25, okay? The owners could theoretically blow off a month, which is 25 games, okay? And they wouldn't lose the local TV money, which is incredibly important to them.
Especially the Dodgers.
Yeah. The cash, the checks that they have to cash, not a problem. So look for the next 48 hours. If if they spent 16 hours yesterday and they're back at it today, negotiating, then I think we're going to get closer. A couple of things we know, and that is there's going to be a universal DH, which is going to be interesting.
Hate it.
I didn't say that you had to like it. I just said they're going to do it.
That's good because I don't.
There you go. He doesn't like it. No, wait. That would be this way. Okay.
He's still pointed the same way twice.
I know. I don't know how that works. I can just like he's over there. There he is. Okay. They're going to have a pitch clock. They're going to try to do some things which may or may not speed the game up, but hang out for the next 40 hours. If they don't do a deal in the next 40 hours, that means we're going to be less than 162 games. And I have no idea why baseball has this death wish that they continue to fight at a time when people are very close to not paying attention to them at all, and that's not good if you're a professional sports league. So we'll keep you updated. Thanks for asking.
And,
all right, go ahead.
A valid point that was brought up is the fact that they're basically alienating themselves. About the DH, don't like that. I mean, I never have. I didn't like it in the American League. I don't like it screwing up the National League. It takes a lot of the strategy out of the game. And the other thing is, are they going to stick with this stupid? Let's put put a guy on second base in extra innings. No. Don't like that either.
No, that was the COVID thing. That's something they're not going to do. I can tell you that's out of the way. But the funny thing is, in covering the strike in '94, right? Basically they're fighting over the same thing. Only this time the pot's bigger. You had Apple.
They haven't learned in 28 years.
You had Apple TV just signed a new long-term deal with them to do a Friday night game. I can tell you that within a week or so, NBC Peacock will have a package which will take care of the Wednesday night games. The Tuesday night games is where Turner is now going. They're going off Sunday afternoons and going to Tuesday nights.
Who are they going to have doing the games for them?
For Turner?
Yeah. Any idea?
Well, Ernie and Smoltz did it for a number of years, and Brian Anderson out of Milwaukee has done a lot of work with them. So my guess is
Chip Carey.
Boy, you really pushed me to a thing there because I hired Chip Carey once. He was the first TV voice of the Orlando Magic. I don't think so. I think Chip will stay on the Braves broadcast team. I think they're going to stick with it. Ironically, by the way, a lot of people like Bob Costas, and Bob, if they make the deal with Peacock, they will have the MLB Network. By the way, produce both the Apple package and the soon to be announced NBC package. So that means that either you're going to get either Bob Costas or you're going to get help me out, the guy that does the night, is it not Matt Vescursion? That's who it is. Matt,
okay.
Matt Vescursion, and who knows who you're going to get in the color seat. Could be Jimmy Cott, could be a number of different people. So yeah, when baseball comes back, they got plenty of options to do it. But and ESPN will keep the Sunday night game. So there's that. And finally, the other thing, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim. No,
I was just going to say, I was going to finish my point. I apologize.
No.
All of those games, the Apple TV games, and the games that would be on Peacock, will be free. Okay, so you don't have to be a subscriber to stream those games. Okay, so there you go on that. And finally, from the dustbin here of things we were covering today, with regard to the package, the money package, it really does make all of this arguing ridiculous, because there's enough money for both sides in there, and they're only getting more. So a pox on both their houses. Get out there, play baseball, so we can watch you. Okay. That editorial was part of me. If you have a problem with it, you see my social media directly in front of me. People have no trouble finding me. So there you go. And meanwhile, here's Chris.
And I was going to say, and to your point, Michael, I'm not putting a fork in the bulls yet. I mean, you have to look. Billy Donovan's done a good job. He's just dealing with a lot of injuries. Once you get Lonzo Ball and Caruso back later this month, it'll lengthen out the rotation. And I think Chicago will bounce back. For all their struggles, you have to consider the fact that they're still fourth in the East, and they're only 4.5 games behind the Heat. They're only a game and a half behind the Bucks in the Central Division. I think that they'll bounce back, and they'll still be a force to be reckoned with. The problem is they've got to find somebody to help DeRozan and Vucevic and Levine in the short term, because the ball seems to get stuck offensively without Ball and Caruso on the floor.
Right.
And that's a problem. I mean, if they fix that, if they could fix that before he comes back, that's even better. I'd like to see more from Ayo Dosunmu, because he's played some pretty good basketball on stretches. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think he can stick the fork in the Bulls yet.
How about the Pistons? Were they was 6 points?
The Pistons, they beat the Hawks the other night. I took them on the show. They've won 6 out of 8, which is strange when you consider that if you take out that 6 out of 8, they were 12-45 before that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I trust the Pistons to cover again. That's one of those things where you can only go to the well so many times before you get burned.
Yeah.
I would probably. I would probably take the Bulls -6, but that's provided Vucevic plays. If he doesn't play because he's questionable, then I would take the points with Detroit. But if Vucevic plays, I would definitely take Chicago -6, because I don't think Detroit, even with the acquisition of Marvin Bagley, I don't think I don't think the Pistons have a big man that can contain Vucevic.
Roland says when they had the first baseball strike, it took all the fandom away. For years. This coming from someone who played baseball for many years. You would think they'd play for the love of the game. And Branch Rickey once said, Roland, that Find me somebody who'll play for free, and I'll find you somebody who's going to play for me. Truly, it's one of those things where you just wonder. Like I said, it's a pox on both their houses. They've got to. Your point about them needing to attract younger fans, absolutely, they do. And the best way to do that is to cut out this crap of people getting upset when guys flip their bats and do all that kind of stuff. The quote unquote unwritten rules of baseball, which drive me nuts. So if you've got stars who are flamboyant, let them be flamboyant. Let them have fun. Make the game fun. Do not take away the joy. And I never figured out, Chris, something real quick we'll chat about real quick. And that is with regard to, pitchers. All right. A pitcher can go, and when he strikes a guy out, he'll pump his fist and he'll, psych himself out, and nobody gets mad. Okay. Which is fine.
True.
So, but a guy flips a bat or stands there and watches a 435 or 440 foot home run go off the back of the bleachers in the upper deck, and the pitcher gets pissed off. I'm sorry, you threw the pitch.
That's true. And James, what do you mean? Why are we here? We're always here. Where did you expect us to be?
James, we're part of the new, and we're excited to say, Max Wagers group. And as you can see, as it scrolls by there, we got all kinds of great people who are involved with us. And you can start off at noon. All right. With our buddy Sean Higgins. He takes the noon hour. Then you've seen her. You like her right here. Allie Burns. She's leads into us at 1 o'clock. We come up at 2 o'clock. And then the law firm of Scott and Scott at Back to the Window is
they're ready to lose for you.
3 to 4, and Game Time Decisions with the triumvirate of Nick, Tim, and Lenny close out our day between 5 and 6. So that's 6 hours of outstanding content right here on Max Wagers Network. So be sure to hit that bell, subscribe, and hit the like button. Because we want to keep you around, okay, James? So,
maybe
and I did that for you.
Maybe he's looking for Steen and Reichel.
That's true. We are running a bit late, so let's get real quick. We're just going to blow through some of these real fast. So let's go to 2 for the money.
Yep, and they're games we talked about already. I'm going to take the Celtics over the Hornets. I mean, Charlotte playing the second game of back-to-back. They lost already. Colgate over Navy, unfortunately. Third time's not the charm for Pete Medhurst and Greg Summers and the midshipmen.
Right.
The Raiders move on to March Madness by winning and the Patriot League title. Then we talked about the Canadians and the Canucks over 6. Vancouver has gone over in 8 straight games, 11 of their last 12. Montreal likes to give up goals. This should be over 6. And Vermont going to beat Binghamton for the 16th straight time. And move on in the America East tournament.
Moving forward to 4 for the show.
Yeah, the Denver Nuggets. I can't figure out why they're only favored by 4.5 points over the Sacramento Kings. Basically, all we need to talk about with Sacramento is this. They blew a 20-point lead the other day and lost to the Knicks.
Enough said.
Washington State, I like over Cal. Cal's just a bad pass. No, Jim, you want to explain how that works?
I didn't see. Put James's question up.
There it is.
Okay, Winners and Whiners, James. Here's what it is. Winners and Whiners is now part as well as Picks and Parlays with our brand new network. Max Wagers. And as you can see scrolling by there, we're going to have Sean Higgs at noon, followed by Allie at and Morning Wood from 1 to 2. Then we come up at 2 to 3 or more. And Back to the Window with Scott and Scott is on the air right now. And then
on another channel
on the same Max Wagers.
They're on ESPN. They're on ESPN 8.
They're on Max Wagers 2. And Back to the Window with Scott and Scott 3 to 4. Game Time with Nick, Tim, and Lenny coming up at 5 o'clock. So as I said before, we give you 6 hours of good programming. So All you have to do, James, it's simple. You've actually been kind enough to prompt me when I've forgotten it, and that is hit the like button, the subscribe bell. I'm sorry, the subscribe button, and hit the bell, and you'll know where we're at all the time. So this is where we are.
But no, the Winners and Whiners website is still up. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
I write for it all the time.
Right, yeah. No, we're Winners and Whiners. Just the broadcast portion of our life goes that way. All right, let's go to the Chinese menu real quick.
Already.
Got it. There we go.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the SEC tournament. I like Vanderbilt over Georgia. Let's face it, Georgia has been awful. They won one conference game all year. I have to wonder if Tom Crean's going to get fired. You know, they haven't been in the tournament in 2 decades. They haven't been relevant probably longer than that. Vanderbilt should take care of them and move on to day 2 of the SEC tournament.
They're going to go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just saw AdMac ask about what about Mississippi. Well, Ole Miss, I don't like them here. I'll take the Tigers of Missouri +4. Missouri won both meetings with Ole Miss this season. And, you know, Ole Miss fell apart down the stretch. I'm not going to lie. They just didn't look good. And, you know, losing Ruffin was a big blow for them. Before that, they had missed Jarkel Joyner. He came back, and then Ruffin got hurt, and he's done for the year. But, yeah, losing 8-9 going into the tournament, they may pull the win out. I'm not going to say they won't, but I'm taking the points.
Yeah.
I'm sure Allie probably teased that up to +307. You know,
right? It's now up there big time. Missouri,
Fresno State over San Jose State. That's the Mountain West.
Right.
Utah State over Air Force. Let's face it, Air Force can't score. Yeah, that's a huge number with the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trailblazers. But, you know, I took the Trailblazers +15 the other day, and they lost by, 43 or something like that?
Yeah, they got
so
waxed.
that just goes to show you that taking big numbers doesn't necessarily pan out when they're on the plus side of the equation. Minnesota over Oklahoma City. The Thunder have now ruled out Lou Dort, Mike Muscala, and
basically the players who score on the team.
Yeah, and I think Ty Jerome is out have been ruled out for the year now, so that'll take a dent out of them. I like the Raptors over the Spurs, delaying Greg Popovich's attempt to break Don Nelson's record for the most wins by a coach in NBA history. I'm going to take the Clippers over the Wiz. Let's face it, it's the Wiz. Then if you're going to put a gun to my head, I would take Vancouver over Montreal in that game that we already said is going to go over the total, and the Caps and Oilers going over 6.5. Like we said, with Ovechkin and Draisaitl and McDavid and shaky goaltending, shake it up, add some ice, blend it for a few seconds, and you get it over.
Okay. Any final questions from the class here before we move on today? Seeing no hands up, guys, as I said before, we're part of the new Max Wagers team, which starts midday with Sean Higgs. Then we move on to Allie's show at 1 o'clock. We're at 2 o'clock. And then our buddies Scott and Scott pick up the pace at 3. And then Lenny and the gang show up at 5. So 6 full hours. Lots of fun. Stay with us. All right. For Mr. King, I'm Jim Williams. We will see you tomorrow right here on Just Parlays as part of the Max Wagers Sports Betting Network. Until then, take care, guys.